Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, I'm going to be taking a look at Ghostwire Tokyo, or supposedly the last Bethesda game for the PlayStation 5, or a new IP from Bethesda, though, released on the PS5, also released on the PC via Steam, though. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, though, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Ghostwire Tokyo is rated T for teens for ages 13 and up by the ESRB rating system, though. When people think of Tango games, some of the games they think of, or most of the games that Tango games have put out, are the Evil Within series. The first one being more like a spiritual successor to like Resident Evil 4, and then will follow up in 2017 with Evil Within 2, which took it more into sort of a maintain that horror vibe to it, but also in more of an open world type of a approach for that game, though. But around that time in 2017, or like around in 2019, they would announce a brand new IP, though, under the game Ghostwire Tokyo. This was a new one from Tango Games, but most people will recognize that game from one of the creators and one of the folks working on it, Akuma, or Nakamura. Apologize for not saying her name correctly. She was known for this sort of personal persona that she gave off during Bethesda's E3 2019 presentation, and was often sort of earned that kind of a reputation, though. Sadly, she would leave before the game would come out on March 25th, 2022, though, due to ranging from some of it was health issues, some of it was she had a child, and some of it was some of the politics and issues she had with Bethesda and sort of the upper management to a certain degree, although I don't know the full story to be exact, though. Well, now that I got my chance to try the game out of Ghostwire Tokyo, I will say my time with the game has been good, though. While it isn't at the same level as, say, what Evil Within 1 and 2 are, they still have that sort of feel that Tango Games is known for with it, though, in a way, and that certainly isn't a bad thing, though. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros, though, and that has to do with the gameplay, though. In terms of the gameplay, though, it basically is fun and enjoyable, though. You basically play the game through a first-person view, and it basically, you have different powers, which kind of almost feels like, you know, having a regular weapon or anything like that. You have sort of like this, you have this green type power that acts sort of like a pistol, though, where you have this blue wave, which kind of acts sort of like a shotgun, though, and you also have this sort of red, sort of like this spear-like power, which kind of feels a little bit like, you know, like a rifle or something like that, though. So you have different types of supernatural powers that you use against certain enemies, though, and when you defeat them to a certain degree or lower their health bar to a certain, or just say about on the verge of defeat, though, you can rip out their core, to be exact, though, and basically use that to sort of, to defeat the enemies and get some more power-ups, though. You can also find different power-ups behind like certain items and all, and so basically you have that along with your bow and arrow, which can also be used to take out enemies like from a distance and all that stuff. So it has a very unique supernatural element to it, though, and there are points in the game, or at least one point in every into, where you won't have those abilities, and you have to be sort of very careful when dealing with some of the enemies. Not to mention, you can basically you can use your bow and arrow, and you can sneak up behind the enemies, though, if you are very careful and all that stuff. Speaking of which, I find that the stealth in Ghostwire Tokyo, I find that to be a bit better than what it was with Evil Within, though. I just feel, to some degree, it seemed a little unnecessary in a game like the Evil Within. But again, that's my take on that matter, though. And obviously, being this is sort of an open world, and also there's different kinds of missions, side missions. You can look at shops to buy, range from bow and arrow to food that you can use to replenish your health, to even dog food, which, as weird as that sounds, you could basically use that to feed dogs that are out in the sort of the abandoned, like, Tokyo and all that stuff, and some of them will take you, if you feed them, they'll take you to either finding more money to buy more items and all, to basically even finding hidden secrets such as statues that can increase how much power you have, to basically statues, different kinds of statues and all that stuff. So in terms of gameplay wise, it's actually very enjoyable though. The next thing I do want to talk about is how well does it run on the PS5, and I will say that it runs pretty good though. Now obviously there are different graphical options available though. I opted to aim for performance mode to make sure it runs at 60 frames per second as smooth as possible, and for the majority of the time it has ran very well for me though. I haven't really experienced anything that made the game like unplayable or anything like that. Granted, you're not going to get the graphical bells and whistles, but I do think the art style kind of makes up for that to a certain degree though. So it runs pretty well on the PlayStation 5 though. And last but not least, I do want to talk about is the character design, and I have to say that I'm kind of impressed with some of the designs of the characters though. While they don't reach the same height as like the Evil Within does in terms of their character designs, I will say that I do like some of it though, ranging from like the faceless type of enemies that you take on to even some of the headless ones. Like you see some headless like Japanese schoolgirls or Japanese students and all that, to different kinds of certain enemies to run in here and there, including one creepy one that basically is this lady that attacks you with the scissors with some really bizarre like teeth and all that stuff. So in terms of character designs though, they looked some of the enemies look really cool in terms of the character design. Again, maybe not on the same level as Evil Within though, but still they look good nevertheless though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the cons. So we'll take a little break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of Ghostwire Tokyo for the PS5, also available on the PC via Steam. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are really only 2 cons I could think of in regards to my time with Ghostwire Tokyo. The first one has to do with the open world approach to the game though. Now, granted, I'm not saying the open world approach is necessarily bad or anything like that. There are some fun collectibles and side missions to do in the game. That certainly isn't a bad thing. The problem is, and this really comes down to your preference and all, is that the game somewhat feels like it's taking pretty much the Ubisoft kind of open world approach, where you go to a certain point to unlock an area where you can look and find all the items, collectibles, or anything like that. Now, granted, some people are okay with that, and some are like, don't seem to enjoy that approach and feel like sometimes Ubisoft overdoes it with their open world approach. And I can understand that to some degree. This doesn't really bother me overall in the game or anything like that, but I can understand why some people may not like the Ubisoft open world approach that Ghostwire Tokyo's taken. Again, I don't think that ruins the game overall though, but I can see why not everybody is a fan of that approach though. And last but not least is sort of the vibe into the game though. And I think most people are going to go in thinking that this game is, being that it's developed by the same folks who did The Evil Within, thinking that they're going to expect sort of a full-on horror type of a game though. And while the game does have some elements of horror in it though, it's not, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a full-on horror game. And again, that's going to come down to your preference and taste though. Some people may or may not like that kind of approach. I mean, look at games like, say, the original Devil May Cry though. There are some horror elements though, but I wouldn't call it a full-on horror game, to be exact, in the way like Resident Evil, like, the Resident Evil series is known for. Or even movies like, say, and this may sound like an odd comparison, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yes, there are some elements of horror in it, but it isn't a full-on horror movie though. So Ghostwire Tokyo is kind of like that though. There are elements of horror in Ghostwire Tokyo, but I would stop short in calling it a full-on horror game and all. So again, some people are going to be okay with this, some may not, to be exact. So that really comes down to your preference and taste and all. Overall, Ghostwire Tokyo is still a fun game nevertheless, though, even though it may not reach the height that Evil Within 1 and 2 have done, though. At its best, though, the gameplay is enjoyable, though. The game runs well on the PS5, even when playing in performance mode. I really haven't ran into any major issues that make the game unplayable, at least based on my time on the gameplay, though. And I do like some of the character designs in the game, including some of the faceless or headless enemies that you run into, and that certainly isn't necessarily a bad thing or anything like that. And some of them look kind of creepy to a certain degree. At its worst, though, the open world approach in the game does somewhat follow similar to an Ubisoft type of an open world, which for some folks, like I said, they may be okay with this, and some folks may not be okay with it, though. And although the game does have a horror vibe to it, though, don't expect it to be a full-on like horror game the way Evil Within or some of the Resident Evil games may be. And again, that really comes down to your preference and taste, to be exact, though. But in either case, I am enjoying Ghostwire Tokyo. I think it is a fun game, though, to be exact. It is a little unfortunate one of the person that was the highlight of Bethesda's E3 2019 really isn't working at Bethesda or at Tango Games anymore, though. Really unfortunate given what happened there. I wish her the best of luck. I would like to see what other games she might be working on. Hopefully we'll see her again maybe some point in the near future. But with Ghostwire Tokyo, the game that she helped work on, I enjoyed it, though. I am down for if a sequel does happen, to be exact, though, or if they decide to do a prequel. Either way, I'm down for a new entry in Ghostwire Tokyo if that ever happens, though. As for this game coming to Game Pass, well, given the fact that we now know Microsoft owns Bethesda, though, it's only a matter of time before we see Ghostwire Tokyo make its way to Game Pass, though. When it does, though, it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not they make any adjustments or changes or put in stuff that maybe was not in the PS5 version. And obviously it will be on Game Pass, so that's nothing new right there. But in either case, though, I did enjoy Ghostwire Tokyo, though. I hope you guys enjoy it too, though. Again, it just doesn't reach the height of the Evil Within or Evil Within 1 and 2, but it's still an enjoyable game nevertheless. Okay, this concludes my video review of Ghostwire Tokyo for the PS5. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Ghostwire Tokyo? Did you try the game out for the PS5 or the PC for that matter, though? Do you think the game is good, though? Do you think there's some areas they could do some improvements on? Are you waiting to see this game come on Game Pass when it eventually does? Do you think they should do a sequel or a prequel in any way? Do you think you're open for Tango Games to doing some brand new IPs? Or do you think they should do something like, say, a Evil Within 3? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!